Hey guys, so I had given you all a different video on posture while you're drawing, so posture for the artist. And that one is a really helpful video. I'll link it right here. And the reason that it's helpful is because it introduces you to a book that really changed the way that I sit, stand, walk, even sleep. I do recommend that book. But you all asked in response to that video for me to show you a little bit more detail about how I'm really sitting when I'm drawing. So I'm going to show you a couple of different things. Photos of my actual studio where I'm drawing by myself and with students. And then I'm going to show you some things here in the film studio where I don't have equipment that I can adjust exactly as I need to. So that hopefully you can kind of get an idea of if you're going to buy some things for your own studio space or drawing space, what you would want to get. And then also how to accommodate when you're in a situation where you can't quite control everything, like the situation here in the film studio. So let's take a look at a couple of pictures and then I'll show you some ways that I'm sitting here in the studio. So this first photo is me sitting in my actual studio where I teach and where I draw. And this is me sitting with the most accommodated posture with all my props and gears and whistles and everything that I use. And I think it's really important to practice this good posture because of the thing of muscle memory. So I talk about muscle memory a lot when we're drawing, but there's muscle memory in all areas of your body. And what you have to remember is that muscle memory is not really the memory in the muscle, but it's the memory in your brain of certain movements and postures and positions. So what happens is the brain focuses on something new that you're learning, and it sends a lot of your brain juice to that effort of learning something new. Once that action has been taken over and over and over and over again, it then gets stored into your long-term memory. And that's when the movement or the posture starts to feel really natural. So this is the position that I want to hold when I'm drawing, that I have to remind myself to go back into over and over again. This next photo you're going to see is me sitting how I find myself when I'm not being mindful. So there are a whole lot of differences here. I'm slouched over the desk. I don't have anything propping up my feet. My shoulders are completely hunched. And what happens here is that something develops called sensory motor amnesia. This is a term that was coined by Thomas Hanna, the inventor of somatics. And the idea of sensory motor amnesia is referring to an inability to move muscles as we wish to or as they're intended to function. So muscles that aren't voluntarily contracted or relaxed as they should be, they may develop this lack of muscle memory from injury or from lack of use. So you want to actually contract the muscles that you want to contract and relax the muscles that you want to relax consciously, and practice this so that you don't, with injury or lack of use, develop this amnesia in your muscles. Okay, so let's take a look at my side view as I would be drawing. So this is what I don't want to do. One of the things that's really important in this situation is that this chair, compared to the height of the table, is entirely too low for me. So what happens is that then that makes me raise my shoulders up and then draw in an unnatural position like this. That's going to cause me a lot of pain after a couple of hours. So if you need to, get a booster pillow, put it under your tush, and raise yourself up so that you can be at the right height. Ideally, what you want is you want your elbows to be at a right angle here. You don't want them to be up here. You don't want them to be like if you're a tall person like that. That's going to cause you problems if you're working for any length of time. Let's see. So the next thing I'm going to think about, and I want you to kind of look down here at the chair cushion. So one thing that's really important, and this comes from my other video on posture, from the Go-Cal method, you don't want your pelvis to be tucked under. So a lot of times when you're slouching, you're gonna rotate your pelvis so that it's tipped forward. And you know, this is how I sit when I'm watching a movie on the couch, right? But you don't wanna do that as a practice for drawing. So when I put a cushion underneath me, I'm not gonna be sitting so that it's way forward like this and that rotates my pelvis forward. Instead, I'm gonna be sitting sort of on the edge like this so that it brings my sits bones, which is what they call it in yoga, or your pelvis, a little bit back and lifts it out. You don't want it to be so arched like this that you're sort of swaying your back. That's going to cause a lot of pain too. So you want just a little natural tilt in your pelvis so that you can stack the rest of your body right on top of it. The next thing you want to think about is your core. So for example, when I was in college, one of the first years that I was there, I learned how to throw ceramics on a wheel. And I'm this scrawny little 90-pound weakling, right? So my arms were like spinning around like this with the clay. And it wasn't until later that I took yoga in graduate school that I realized that it's not about arm strength, it's about core strength. And so the root of your drawing is really coming from this midsection. And in the Go-Cal method book that I shared with you earlier, this is called your inner girdle. So the idea is that with your tailbone tilted just a little tiny bit back, you can stack the rest of your spine on top of it. And you want to use these core muscles right here in your stomach. Think of it like if you stretch your arms up, you can really feel these stomach muscles. And then what you want to do is continue to engage those stomach muscles when you lower your arms back down. So you can see I'm almost running out of breath because one method of doing that is that you sort of tighten those stomach muscles and you feel like you might be losing your breath. So you still have to breathe. Let's do that for a second. And you want to breathe and engage those core muscles. The next thing is that this is the biggest problem for me. I tend to just hunch over, and you can see that this arm is actually going to, my shoulder blade is kind of like bulging out here because what I'm always working on is loosening these muscles and engaging these back muscles so that I'm not rounding over in the shoulder, because I can tell you it's really easy for me to just kind of slouch over here like this and draw all day long. It's super fun. I get lost in the drawing, but then I leave and I'm in pain. So as I stack sit, engage the core, I want to rotate my shoulders back and down and then keep it that way if I can, while I have my arm at that sort of 90-degree angle. My arm is flat on the table. Okay, so here's hunched, here's not. And I'm still working on getting that shoulder to go back where it really needs to. So I have some progress left that I need to do. The next thing is you want to think about what's next up. We've got our base. We've got moving up from the base. Then you want to think about the neck. So you don't want your neck to be hunching over either. So this is where I use the tabletop easel. And this helps me to raise the level of my drawing so that it's not exactly at eye level, but that I'm not hunching over and leaning over. You know, when it's flat on the desk, not only is there some distortion because the perspective is moving far away from you, but there's also that tendency to sort of just like lean over like this, and it feels more comfortable, but it's not. It's a lie. So having sort of that stiff posture, while it takes a little bit more mindfulness and effort, you're actually going to feel significantly better and more energetic at the end of the day. Okay, so now we've got everything from the hip bones and pelvis, waist up. Now we're going to look at everything from there down. So this is not going to be an issue for a lot of you who are tall, but because I'm short, if I move this stool, you're going to be able to see that if I'm at the right height, sometimes my feet are dangling. Okay, so if my arms are at the right height, you can see that they're flat and level with the table, my forearm is. Sometimes what that means is that my feet then are dangling. Okay, and this is particularly at my studio where I have a chair that has wheels. My feet are dangling like this. And you would think that that wouldn't cause you problems. However, I have discovered that it does. So one accommodation is get a tiny little step stool, and let's see if I can move that forward, and rest your feet on it. Now sometimes that has your legs feeling like they're up at an angle, which you don't want. So if you can't get the step stool at the right height, then another way around it is to use what's called a graffiti band. So these are 2 graffiti bands. They're basically silicone bands that you can get online. This is 2 so that I could put it together to make it longer. You can see I also have 1 on the chair right here. So this is just a rubber band. It's not really rubber, so it's not gonna break down as quickly over time as rubber will. It's silicone, and you can stretch it around. Let's turn the chair so you can see it. You can stretch it around the 2 legs of the chair. And then for kids or short people, you can put your feet at the right level so that your legs are parallel to the chair and that your feet aren't dangling like this. So dangling feet, it's going to cause circulation problems. It's going to cause some stress on your tendons. I actually wound up with tendonitis last year. So you want to be able to prop your feet up. And for kids, that's going to be way more comfortable anyways. I put these on the chairs for kids because they like to put their feet in between and kick back and forth. It's good for fidgeters, but it's also nice for people who just want to have a place to rest their feet. So I think that's everything that I do to accommodate my posture. And you want to think of it like the less you can do this, the more you're going to be able to draw and master your drawing. And you're going to feel a whole lot better when you leave the studio at the end of the day. Your work will look better, and over time, you're going to be able to continue your practice. So I hope that helps you guys out. Remember that I'm not the best model for posture. These are things that I've learned the hard way by doing everything wrong. So hopefully you can avoid some of the problems that I had and be better off for it.